Service industry really badly affected here and more prone to COVID than anybody else. So I think we've definitely got an opportunity to do something about it. When I think about it from a firm perspective, the positive I would say is, if I think about this 10 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, these kind of conversations about a fairer economy and a greener economy and, you know, ESG, or they were grassroots conversations. They were about, you know, activists in your organisation who were kind of pushing those messages up the way. And I'm not sure how well they were being heard by senior employees. And hasn't that flipped? Because, and okay, I'm sure they've been forced to flip, but it's great that these are now boardroom conversations. And I think it's so important that firms make this part of their strategy, and make it part of their strategy and their goals and their measures, and publish them, because I genuinely believe, and I was fascinated to listen to millennials when they spoke. People they've got choices. You know, today's generation have got choices about where they work, and now that work can be more flexible, people in Glasgow can work for London companies and be at home. So to attract the very best talent, you're going to have to take these things seriously and make it part of your DNA. Because if it's not part of your DNA and people don't feel it's part of your DNA, they won't work for you. They'll work for somebody else. So I think it's important as part of the culture. But I was on a call just the other day and people were talking about, net carbon, carbon zero, and they were saying, I don't know how I'm going to get there. Well, of course you don't, but it doesn't stop you making the commitment. And it doesn't stop you, being brave and saying, it's what I want to do. I'll kind of work out how I'm going to get there. But I think employees want to see firms be brave. So it's a bit about, clearly we want big firms we want them to encourage them to have social, environmental, sound practices, but we want them to be brave. And I think colleagues want them to be brave. It's funny, silly example, but I was talking to somebody the other day who had learned jazz piano. So they were apparently classically trained, and they'd learned jazz piano online in lockdown. And I was thinking, if it hadn't been for lockdown, you would have, and somebody had said to you, you can learn jazz piano and I'll teach you online, you would have thought, that can't be done. It absolutely can't be done. And yet you think differently, and it can be done, and it has been done. So I think what big firms need to think about is, let's just be brave and work out, let's set ourselves the goal and then we'll work out how to get there.
Fantastic. We're at 6:10. We're just a couple more questions from me, Susan, and then would love to hear from the audience. So if you can be thinking about what sort of follow-up questions you might want to ask Susan. But if we turn now to our third hour, Susan, I think we would all recognise the importance of our networks and our relationships as we seek to develop our careers. As we think about this hybrid or remote working model that we seem now to be very much entering into, how would you recommend that people go about developing and strengthening their networks and relationships in that kind of context?
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Again, I'll go back to your millennial conversation, because one of the gentlemen on it said that more than half of his team, he had never met them face to face, and that